Welcome to Electric Bike Report. My name's John.
And I'm Griffin.
A little bit of sad news this week. We have another large e-bike brand that may be closing its doors.
Hopefully they can pull off a comeback.
We're also going to head to the Midwest and talk about an e-bike friendly city, don't you know?
Oh, all right. Let's check it out.
And then we're also going to compare two of the industry's best city cruisers and find out which one is best for you.
All that and more on this episode of The Weekly Recharge.
All right, jumping into this week's e-bike news. So let's talk about Rad Power Bikes. Unfortunately, that is the company that may potentially be closing its doors. And it's really no secret that the company has been struggling in the recent years, especially since the pandemic. Like a lot of brands, they overstocked and have had some trouble, moving that excess inventory. But then they've also had some legal troubles. There's been a bunch of layoffs.
I was gonna say, there's been unfortunately a lot of rough headlines for them over the years, including rounds of layoffs, things like that. Yeah, kind of hit after hit, and now this is kind of like the big one.
Yeah, so they are based in Washington, and Washington has an act called the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act, or WARN, and basically that requires businesses of a certain size to give employees advance notice if they have to close, and so that's basically what's happening here. So back on November 7th, Rad filed a Worker Adjustment and Retraining notification with the state of Washington, saying that it may need to close its doors and lay off its 64 employees in January. So the company sent a letter to its employees, giving them kind of the heads up and saying that the administration, which we've seen a change in that as well, just within the past year, they've been, pursuing ways to keep the company in business, including, and this is a quote from an article here, strategic partnerships with other companies that could acquire the company or provide funding. So the letter also says that, leadership is still hopeful that they'll be able to find a solution that will keep them in business, but that they also have to, follow this law and give employees advance notice. But then if they're not able to find a solution here, they will be shutting down on January 9th of 2026. So, I mean, we've reviewed pretty much every bike from Rad, and, the company makes solid bikes. They've been around for ages, since before the pandemic. They are just a pillar in the industry. Everything they put together is safe, reliable, trustworthy. I mean, it's sad to see this potential. So hopefully we can, help them.
At the same time, it's like, you're right when you call them a pillar of the e-bike community. At the same time, that almost feels like selling them short somehow. Like at one point, like Rad was like the center of the e-bike universe. It felt like they had, like one year they led in sales, like 200,000 or something like that they shipped out. Like Rads were just everywhere. So
they still are, really. I mean, riding out on the paths, you see them all the time.
Absolutely. Still. So potentially for them to go away would be a pretty rough thing for the industry. I think overall that leaves a lot of bikes out there on the roads without, potential coverage, moving forward, warranty, things like that. So I know they've been sniffing around trying to find some partnerships or some way to save Rad. And I really do hope someone is able to step in and maybe right the ship a little bit for them, because it would be just really rough, devastating, leave a little bit of a vacuum if they do go away. So, fingers crossed they can pull something out. We're always hopeful and always optimists. We've seen things like Juiced, was another pillar of the e-bike industry. When they went away, it was kind of like, holy cow, Juiced is gone.
Yeah.
And then, the owners of Velotric stepped in and they ended up purchasing that brand, looking to revive it. So we're going to keep fingers crossed, always hopeful that something can be pulled off here.
Especially with Black Friday on the horizon, I'm hopeful, but obviously we'll see how things shake out.
Yeah, exactly. But moving on to other news. So this one is a new product from Scott, who debuted the Fast Lane road bike, and this one looks pretty awesome, I gotta say. I'm not even a roadie guy, but even I'm a little bit wanting to get my hands on this one. So the Fastlane has a big focus on stealth with a profile that doesn't stand out as an e-bike. This bike has a carbon fiber frame and fork, and depending on the spec tier, a total weight of 21.8 to 24.5 pounds. Allow me to repeat that in case you didn't hear that. 21.8 to 24.5 pounds
for
on an e-bike.
Yeah.
That is just outrageous. So part of the reason it's able to achieve such a low weight is because it's using TQ's HPR40 mid-drive motor, which is meant to supplement the rider subtly instead of really taking over the ride. It has, the lowest output of any TQ motor at just 200 watts and 40 Newton meters of torque. So again, it's just going to enhance a little bit what you can do as a cyclist. Now, some of the other specs here include a 25 kilometer or 28 mile per hour speeds, depending depending on the EU or US, purchasing respectively. The internals include a 290 watt-hour battery, pretty sizable battery again for that low of a weight.
Definitely.
A bar end display that pairs with a smartphone app, a 2x12 24-speed drivetrain with electronic shifting and either alloy or carbon cranksets. Also has Shimano hydraulic disc brakes, aluminum or carbon stem and handlebar, carbon wheels with 700C by 34mm Schwalbe tires. Now there are 3 spec tiers to jump in on this bike. The Fastlane 20 starts at $7,000, Fastlane 10 goes to $8,000, and Fastlane Premium will cost you a premium at $12,000. As always, our barometer for how good of a bike does this look, we turn to our friend Mike over at EBR, our resident road and gravel rider, and judging by the pools of drool that were coming from him, it looks like this has got just about everything on that a diehard roadie could love and enjoy.
Yeah, that aero styling is pretty sick, even like you said, for a non-roadie.
It's pretty sleek. I got a little bit of antsiness to try that one.
Yeah, so we'll leave links down below where you can check that bike out. But next story is about Upway, which, if you're not familiar, is a global company, honestly, that deals with refurbished e-bikes. So they will accept used e-bikes, run them through their mechanic, make sure everything is good to go, and then post them. And they have some great deals, I'll just say that. But so they've received a new round of funding, and that is $60 million in Series C funding that is just meant to help them expand and grow. And the investment company that gave them that round of funding is based in Copenhagen, and it's called AP Moller Holding. So according to Bicycle Retailer, they've received more than $125 million total in funding since 2021. AP Moller is just one of their investors. Others are Sequoia Capital, Aura Global, and Galvanize, and there's a few others as well. But basically, Upway plans to take this money and use it to expand their sort of brick and mortar physical presence in the US to create jobs and then further encourage that sort of circular consumption model just with their recycling and refurbishment. So they are currently established in 8 European countries and the US, and they have refurbishment centers currently in France, Germany, Belgium, and in the US, both in New York and California. And then they're planning 6 new centers, one in Denver. We're not really sure about the others yet. But we've got a statement from the company's co-founders, and they said, "We founded Upway with a simple idea: light mobility can only be sustainable if it's circular. This round of funding allows us to scale that vision and make secondhand the first choice for millions of riders. We're building the industrial and technological infrastructure that gives e-bikes a second life with the same quality and safety standards as new ones." So, with this goal in mind, the company aims to provide jobs for over 2,000 employees by 2030.
Sweet. Bring on more jobs.
Yeah.
Always happy to see stuff like this, with any sort of ecosystem. If it's, tech or cars are always like a really good example here. It's like you need to have like a healthy amount of used options, something a little bit more affordable for people to jump into. Now, sticking with like the car side of things, I'm the type of person who I would love to go and buy from like a local ad or something like that, but I don't know what I don't know when it comes to cars, and I feel a little bit of comfort when it's gone through the dealership and mechanics' hands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So jump into used vehicles like that. It's good to have that option with bikes as well. This is a growing and expanding thing. There are really good deals on new ones, but hey, some people need something even more affordable from a brand that they trust, and getting a strong secondhand market that goes through that process of checks and balances with mechanics who know what they're doing to make sure that the bike is safe and rideable. I think that's a great thing. So, really interested to see these new location centers where they spring up and whatnot, and what Upway does from here with this new funding.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't personally have any experience, with a hands-on product from Upway, but just looking at their listings, it's pretty cool how thorough they at least appear to be. Just listing mileage, the condition of everything, and what more can you want from a used bike?
Yeah, 100%. And then our final news story of the day is a little bit of, it's technically a follow-up story. Super73's MZTF, or the Misfit, is now available for purchase. So we touched on this one a few weeks ago. John actually was able to have an interview with Michael Canavo, the company's chief marketing officer. So most of the specs have stayed the same from what we had learned originally, but again, a few more things have been revealed. So just to run through it again on some of the things we've already touched on, it's a relatively Spartan, affordable mini moto style e-bike. It includes a 500 watt rear hub motor, a single speed drivetrain with thumb throttle, 20 mile per hour max speed, a 520 watt hour battery, but it is expandable to a dual battery configuration. It's got a rigid aluminum fork and frame. It's a 2-piston hydraulic disc brake setup and has lockable storage as well, which we actually thought was pretty cool. It's got integrated lights, a 250-pound weight limit. Now, some of the new details that we have since learned include the single battery range has an estimate of 15 to 20 miles, and the dual battery increases that to 35 to 40 miles. It is a recommended rider height range of 4'10" to 5'10". Includes 16 by 4.5 inch V Jackal tires. BMX style handlebar with an LED indicator panel instead of a screen. Starting MSRP price of $1,995, and 2 colors are currently available with a titanium ore and Cullenberry.
That Cullenberry is pretty sweet. Definitely, that's the purple.
What is a Cullenberry?
I have zero clue.
It's pie season, so can I get a Cullenberry pie? But
You can try.
At any rate, again, this bike looks really interesting, a little bit on the smaller side. Might be like a good option for like older kids or something like that, or just shorter riders who want a nice little like moped thing to kind of like get around on. Seems really promising. We're looking forward to trying it out soon.
That's right. But that does it for this week's news.
Time for a little bit of trivia. Feel free to follow along at home or wherever it is you're watching or listening to this. Unfortunately, we finished in a tie last week, and nothing makes me angrier than a tie. I'd rather have just lost. So
you can accept that if you want.
On second thought, ties are fine. So we're going to keep this in the middle, but the winner will get to crown the loser.
Oh,
I'm just going
point
to
at
gesture
me.
to you because I know how this ends. But like I said, follow along at home. Christina, what is our question numero uno?
All right.
Also, everyone say hi to Christina. Hi, Christina.
Hi, Christina.
Hello, everyone. All right. Question number 1. What is the typical voltage of most modern commuter e-bike batteries? A, 12 volt, B, 24 volt, C, 36 to 48 volt, or D, 96 volt?
1, 2, 3, go.
Correct.
C.
Most use 36 to 48 volt systems for optimal range and power.
Bazinga.
I would have
Easy
guessed that
peasy.
one too,
Yeah.
just because it had a range. It wasn't
Should have thrown a
specific
52
one.
in there. That could have tripped us
Yeah.
up a little more, but
Yeah.
yep.
All right, question 2. What's the world record for the longest e-bike ride on a single charge as of 2025? A, 102 miles.
Wait, sorry. I need clarification. Is this from our data or is this the internet and the world?
I think
I'm
it's the
assuming
internet and the
world
world.
record would
Okay.
imply not just our data.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
A, 102 miles. B, 185 miles. C, 256 miles, or D, 228 miles?
Okay.
1 in 4 chance here.
Let's do it.
You are both wrong.
Both
Dang.
wrong.
It was D. 228 miles with the Delfast Prime e-bike in 2017.
Holy smokes.
What?
Wow. All right.
That's held the record for a long time.
I wonder how-
Delfast. Isn't Delfast like one of those like moto ones?
I couldn't tell you, to be honest.
Whatever. I'm going to go arm wrestle Michael over these questions later. That's how I solve my disputes with arm wrestling. He'll probably beat me though.
All right, question number 3.
Yeah.
What year was Rad Power Bikes founded? A, 2007, B, 2004, C, 2012, or D, 2014?
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Both wrong again.
Dang it.
The answer is A, 2007.
2007.
You know, that-
I knew they were like 20-ish years. I wasn't sure if it was above 20 or below 20. Darn it.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, we're still tied. You've got
Hopefully
one.
you guys at home are doing better than us.
Yeah. Also,
Not
for
a
the
strong
record,
start.
it's pretty early here. So.
We're filming earlier than usual. I'm going to blame it on that.
Yep. Me too. Yep. We are agreed again.
Not quite awake yet. All right, question number 4. What was the first e-bike Rad made? A, Rad Rover, B, Rad Runner, C, Custom Bikes, or D, Rad City?
1, 2, 3.
You're both correct.
Got
they
it.
started making custom bespoke electric bikes.
All right.
All right, on to number 5. So still tied, right?
Still
Still
tied.
tied.
2 right, all right. How many e-bikes has Rad Power Bikes sold since they opened shop? A, 350,000, B, 910,000, C, 680,000, or D, 560,000?
Can you run through those one more time?
Yep. A is 350,000, B, 910,000, C, 680,000, or D, 560,000.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Ooh, Griffin took the lead.
Dang it.
The answer
What
is
is it?
C.
I only didn't choose C because C has been the correct one in a few.
Yeah,
but it is statistically.
Maybe he's just-
680,000.
Maybe, question maker just on a vitamin C kick. Just lots of C.
Perhaps.
Everyone knows if you don't know the answer on your ACT or SAT.
You always
just
get
go with
C.
C.
Yeah, everyone knows that.
Yeah.
It's
Probably
fact.
why I didn't do very amazingly.
You learned that after.
All right, on number 6. How many Newton meters of torque does the Amos Santa Monica have? A, 65, B, 70, C, 90, or D, 80?
You would think I would remember this better than I do. But
Both wrong. The answer is B, 70 Newton meters of torque.
70,
okay.
but
I put 80. Yeah.
I just stuck with C because
right,
we were
John.
talking about it.
Just like last week, down to the final question.
Oh, this is hard. This
I
is
can't
hard.
promise this one is
my gosh.
about your bike specifically. So
Okay. Well, let's see what happens. I might be getting the dunce helmet next week.
all right, what size motor does the Utopia Carbon 1 step through have? A, 350 watt, B, 500 watt, C, 250 watt, or D, 750 watt?
Flip it.
You're both right. I saw
Yeah.
Griffin write his, and I was like, oh, well, doesn't matter if John
like,
gets
that
it
was
right.
my bike.
Yeah.
Oh, 350 watts.
All right. Well, here, let's just go ahead
For
and
those
get
who
this
didn't
over
keep
with.
track, that's 4 for Griffin, 3 for John, and the dunce helmet is John's for the wearing.
For
so-
1 week.
For 1 week.
I'll send it back to him next week.
But let us know how you did following along at home down in the comments. All right, now we're going to take a look at some gear that we've been sent to test out. And this is actually a good one to take a look at because, shopping season's upon us, right around the corner and whatnot. So good time to be thinking of some accessories for loved ones who are cycling fans. John, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the Feedback Sports Numa CC floor pump. Everybody needs a good floor pump for their bike if you
100%.
don't have a motorized one. But this one's very cool because it can function as a normal floor pump, but it also has a it can be like a charge pump. So it has a concealed charge tank inside, and that allows you to basically pump that up and then release all of that air at once, which gives you the ability to seat tubeless tires.
So the lever here seems to indicate regular pump or charge mode.
Yep, nicely labeled there, so you can flip back and forth. It's got a steel base, a dual layer aluminum tube here, an oversized readout there, and then we've got a plastic handle, but there's actually some storage in here. You've
Heck
got your valve things up there. You can stash some extra stuff in there if you need to. And it is compatible with Schrader, Presta, and Click valves.
Nice.
Now, one of the coolest things that I mean, this is great on its own, but it's also compatible with an upcoming repair stand from Feedback Sports. That is called the Pro Airlift, and that's going to be releasing in February of 2026. So basically, it uses like a pneumatic system to raise your bike up, and you can use this to just pump that up.
Sweet.
So that stand is going to be portable. We'll probably talk about it on the show in February when that comes out. But yeah, pretty cool compatibility there. And then this comes with a 3-year warranty, and it is priced at right around $150. So yeah, if you're in need of a good, sturdy, reliable floor pump, take a look at this. We'll leave links down in the video description.
All right, so there's nothing new that came to us this week. Not totally unheard of. We're entering shopping season. Brands are a little bit focused on the Black Friday sales, but we'll be back to getting some new products to talk about here shortly. In the meantime, we still had a backlog we were working through, and there are a couple of bikes that we've had go live worth talking about, and that includes the Fiido Nomads review, which I did. This was actually a really pretty awesome bike. It's pretty affordable. It is kind of like a little bit of like a touring style bike. Just really solid frame construction, like nice motor like activity as well. It's very like subtle assist, but actually like meaningful. You can like feel it working. The only like slight drawback to the bike in my eyes, for at least the US crowd listening to this, is it's capped at like 15.5 miles per hour on the speeds, which is actually more in line with the EU side of things. So European listeners are like, hey, what's the problem? I got no issue with that. Now, one of the coolest things about this bike though, for a few $100s more, you can actually add on 2 spare batteries and this unique rack that holds them. The rack actually like positions them in such a way where it like wouldn't interfere with getting some panniers on there. So again, this is like a potential like adventure type bike where you can just kind of like load up with battery for days and, you know, like hit the open road. So really cool bike to check out if you've got some long distance cycling plans like on the horizon, one you're gonna want to take a look at. And then for cruiser fans, John had the I'm a Santa Monica, is that right?
Yeah, for sure. And this is a bike that we've had a ton of requests to look at. So it was really cool to get into this. And it was just honestly a very pleasant surprise as to how well put together the Santa Monica was. It's just, I would say, one of the most comfortable, most responsive, peppiest cruisers that we have tested. And yeah, I mean, I think that we were all just really impressed with how well it came together. It also has like one of the quietest rear hub motors that I think I have ever experienced personally. Yeah. So pretty awesome bike. Be sure to check that one out. And as always, make sure you're subscribed so you can stay up to date on all of our new content.
All right, each week we like to highlight either really cool bucket list destinations or just a shout out to cities with really good infrastructure for cyclically friendly environments. John, what are we checking out this week?
Well, as I hinted at in the intro, we're going to Minnesota. Yeah.
Anyone from Minnesota watching this, please critique John's Minnesota accent out of a scale of 1 to 10.
It's probably not that good, but I'll try.
All right.
I'm not going to read the whole thing in that accent. But anyway, so the city of Minneapolis in Minnesota specifically. So this is just really hailed as one of the most commuter-friendly e-bike cities in the country, honestly. So I pulled some information here from the city's website, as well as some other stuff that we'll get into. But a quote directly says, Minneapolis has 89 miles of trails, 36 miles of curb-protected bikeways and paths, and over 140 miles of painted bike lanes. These numbers are growing as new projects are completed. And actually, they had like basically a map showing the sort of current infrastructure and how they hope to expand it. And it appears like they're actually aiming to essentially double their capacity here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which, you know, basically blankets the entire city with bike-friendly
There's sprawling like bike lanes everywhere. That's sweet.
Absolutely. So some pretty big accolades here. At one point, People for Bikes actually ranked Minneapolis in second place on its list of city rankings, although that has slid a little bit. It's down at 36, which is still pretty good. I mean, it's, you know, hundreds and hundreds of cities on there. It's also a gold level bicycle friendly community, according to the League of American Bicyclists, excuse me, that almost turned into a swear word. And then it was also named as the best place to bike commute year round in 2017 by OutsideOnline.com.
Nice.
So one of the coolest trail systems in the city that I found here, outside of just their downtown citywide infrastructure, is called the Grand Rounds National Scenic Byway, which basically just makes a big loop around the city. And there's 7 segments to this, but there's a total of 51 miles of bike-friendly trails. And then I'm pulling info here from the National Scenic Byway Foundation. So if you're starting in downtown, there's a section called the Downtown Riverfront. There's a bunch of historic structures there, as well as modern buildings. You've got some tourist attractions like the Stone Arch Bridge, St. Anthony Falls, the Mill City Museum, and Gold Medal Park. But then it's sort of the next connecting segment here is called the Mississippi River segment. And I think one of the coolest things there, I'm personally a fan of architecture. So there's a guy named Frank Gehry that if you're not familiar with him, he does these really cool, smooth, sculptural buildings named. So he designed a building called the Weissman Art Museum that you can see on that segment of the trail. The next one is, I don't know, probably one of my favorite words that I've encountered in a while. It is the Minnehaha section, and it
wasn't worthy of a big haha, just a mini
Just
haha.
a mini haha,
Okay.
yes, exactly. So this part of the trail runs along Minnehaha Creek and weaves through dense woods and also links to Minnehaha Falls. I'm going to try to say that word as often as I can, but another segment is called the Chain of Lakes. And so, as you might expect, there are a bunch of lakes in a chain, and this makes loops around all of them. So there's Brownie Lake, Cedar Lake, Lake of the Isles, a lake that was known as Lake Calhoun, and I'm going to try this. It's now called Bide Makaska.
Okay.
Yep.
Sure.
And then also Lake Harriet. So in addition to just some pretty scenery, you can also hit up some fishing spots there. But then another segment is called Theodore Worth. That's a park that has mountain bike trails, hiking trails. There's a bird sanctuary there, as well as disc golf courses. So some good outdoor recreation all around. And then there's another segment called Victory Memorial that actually passes through a World War I memorial. There's like 560 something plaques just to each of the residents who lost their lives in that war. And then we have the northeast section of the trail that is basically a scenic off-street route, although that area is known for its arts district, its restaurants, and its bars. So if you are there, there's plenty of other stuff to check out. One of the coolest things that I saw here on the National Scenic Byway Foundation's website is they actually have like a recommended 2-day itinerary that takes you kind of all around the city on this path,
cool.
just kind of pointing out all the best stops and spots to check out. So depending on where you ride within the city, class 1, 2, and 3 bikes are allowed. Although, like California, e-bikes cannot be both class 2 and class 3 at the same time. And then, if you are riding around the city, class 3 seems to be good, but then class 1 and 2 seem to be legal in like pretty much everywhere. So as we've kind of found is common with this section of the show. And then there's also a bunch of e-bike rental companies in the city if you can't bring your own or you don't want to. So yeah, I mean, whether you're here in the winter coming up or, next summer, something like that, planning a vacation, seems like a pretty cool city to get around with, and also some cool trails just for recreation.
I was like, always love a city you can take in by bike. Always a huge plus in our world. If you have checked this place out, please let us know a little bit more about it from your perspective down in the comments below, or give us a suggestion if you've got a city you're pretty proud of with your own infrastructure for cycling. Let us know that too, and we might explore that one next week.
Don't you know?
All right, now it is time for John and I's favorite section of the show, that is answering questions and comments from you, our audience members, the most informed and best audience on the planet. I'll fight anyone who says differently.
Golf clap for you guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, let's jump in here with a question from Anushella2 from the Mooncool TK1 trike video on YouTube, who says, I just got this trike as I've been pretty mobile. As I've been pretty mobile from a back injury for 4 years, and I have neuropathy and still don't feel comfortable on my regular 2-wheel bike for obvious reasons. I feel silly asking, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how to turn the headlight on and to operate the different speeds and modes. I wish I researched more because I would have preferred more speeds. Does this actually have harder penalty? Because in finding the pedaling extremely easy, and I do want to get exercise as well, perhaps you can guide me to where I might find these answers. Thank you.
Sure.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So first things first, like, don't ever feel bad about sending us a question. Don't feel silly or dumb. Like, that's literally what we're here for. And we really enjoy this part of our job.
100%.
So yeah, happy that you reach out with questions. So this is actually something that comes up pretty regularly. And it's interesting because most e-bikes function in similar ways as far as their like interface goes, but it isn't necessarily always obvious. But generally, in this case, and with most e-bikes, to turn on your headlight, all you have to do is hold the plus or like up arrow button, the whatever button that increases your pedal assist level. So hold that, and then that will usually kick on the light system. You can also, if for some reason your bike or trike in this case is different, you can always just flip through your user manual, and that information should be in there. But yeah, the next thing, so yeah, as far as adjusting pedal assist level, kind of the same thing. Again, you've got the plus and minus buttons there, so that will increase or lower your power levels. So the TK1 here is a single speed trike. So kind of as you pointed out there really isn't a way to add resistance. The only way to really do that is to ride with the lowest pedal assist level, PAS1, or no pedal assist at all, so that would be PAS 0. So that's kind of the best advice that I have for you with a single speed. Otherwise, if anyone out there is shopping for a trike that wants to get some exercise, you might maybe consider looking at something with multiple speeds, which aren't really that common, but we do have some out there.
And you can always like find other ways too, like there's baskets and stuff on those trikes. You can probably like weigh it down a little bit to add some weight and resistance that way.
You just do really have to be careful with doing that.
I was gonna say just do so. Now what's the word I'm looking for? Just do so with caution, of course. Just make sure you're taking all the precautions you need to there. But yes, there are certain ways you can do that, and of course you don't have to like commit to that. You can start out with no resistance or something, and then kick it on as things get a little bit tougher or anything like that. But
for sure.
And like John said, hey, no such thing as any like bad or wrong question. Throw them our way. We're happy to help with the basics and the advanced stuff, whatever we can do.
That is right. But moving on to a question from the Aventon Pace 4 review on YouTube. So this comes to us from Lauren Link 4345. We are a couple seniors active looking at Pace 4 versus Breeze 1 as our first e-bikes. Mostly flat paved rides. Seems like both are great. Advice, please.
You are correct. Both are great. This is why I say our audience is like the best and most informed out there, because whenever we get these questions for comparisons, you are always kind of like narrowing it down to ones we usually have on our best pages for a reason anyway, which is kind of the case here, the Pace and the Breeze.
Yep.
Both are great lightweight city cruisers, and there is a fair amount of overlap, but there are maybe a couple of slight different like things here that can steer you one way or the other.
Sure.
So we'll go ahead and do a head-to-head on this one, because again, at the end of the day, you're not going to be going wrong one way or the other. Both of bikes are really responsive, fun, and just have great handling, but again, slight differences here. John, I'm going to let him take the Pace 4, and then I will cover the Breeze 1 as I reviewed that one. So John, I'll let you start things off if you will.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. So just made a list of the sort of highlights here from the Pace 4 that stood out to me based on my review of that bike. Just number one, extremely natural feeling pedal assist. So that bike has a 500 watt motor that's pretty peppy. It also has 3 customizable power levels, but just the way Aventon has really done their programming with this sort of latest line of e-bikes, everything just feels really natural, really dialed in. So, it does give you the sense that you're kind of riding a non-electric bike, just, faster and easier. And again, with the customization there, you can change that output with the motor. But another thing is that this bike it's a little bit of a departure from the previous version of the Pace. So it blends commuter and cruiser styles. So it does have a pretty comfortable and upright riding position, but it also is a little bit more stretched out and forward leaning than previous models and the Breeze 1. This bike, as with all Aventon models now, has just some incredible security features. You get the rear wheel and battery lock, just for starters, regardless of whether or not you want to get into everything that you can access via the Aventon app. But then if you do that, there's a subscription that's paid after a year free that gives you access to additional GPS tracking. You can remote disable the bike if somebody steals it. There's geofencing if you're letting somebody borrow the bike. The
geofencing, we can attest, works because we frequently rode it outside of that, not knowing that someone had set that up and the bike shuts down.
Yes. It does, yeah. So just a ton of really cool stuff. And, we'll talk about price later, but you don't see these features very often at this price. But another thing is just over-the-air updates through the app and the ACU module on the bike. So when we tested the bike, it was fairly basic in what it offered, but since we reviewed this, Aventon added a ton of features. There's now a sensor switch feature that gives you the option to ride with either torque or cadence sensing modes. There's a cruise control function now. There's a boost mode that gives you like a little bit of extra kick above the sort of rated peak power. And then you also get a suspension seat post on this on this bike. But then just one downside that we called out, at least again at the time that we reviewed it, that it did not come with brake lights, although it has turn signals. But I have heard some reports that maybe that has changed.
I was going to say, I heard that too. They may have updated the brake that they were using, so of equal stopping power and quality, but that one does have the brake light ability with that. Supposedly, again, we're not sure exactly. But
let us know if you bought one, and let us know how yours came for sure. But.
And then moving over to the Breeze 1 side of things, so this one also has a pretty powerful motor and wide range of pedal assist levels, ranging from natural and light to quick and easy. So it just feels extremely relaxed and comfortable with a nice upright riding position. It's also extremely light and nimble, under 50 pounds, easy to maneuver and transport, of course. Now it's got a wider range of color options, something Velotric likes to do, get very colorful, including, just like brighter, bolder color choices, I would say. It has a lot of customization options and ride data tracking via the Velotric app. It also has Find My Tech for location tracking, though it's a little bit more limited than the Paces system, which is pretty robust. Overall, it's a really nice bike. The only like real downside I had with it kind of has some like bigger, bulkier like control things like up in the cockpit, so the handlebar can feel a little bit cluttered, but the handlebar is probably going to be like a thing that may or may not sway you, kind of like John was talking about with the Pace 4, when a little departure from the norm for most cruiser style bikes with the handlebar they use. Don't get us wrong, we liked it, but at the same time, not as traditional cruisery as what you get with the Breeze. That one is a little bit easier to just be upright and relaxed and straight backed, which may be something that's appealing to you. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the testing data. Again, I'll let John kick things off with the Pace 4.
Okay, yeah. So let's talk about our speed test first. So first thing is that both of these bikes are both Class 2 and Class 3 capable, and both have that ability to switch between torque and cadence sensing modes. So again, when we tested the Pace 4, it only had the torque sensing mode before the OTA update. So when we tested it, it had 3 pedal assist levels, and then sort of the lowest 2 ramped up in power about the same, regardless of whether we had it in Class 2 or Class 3 mode. And then there was just more difference on the 3rd highest pedal assist level. But overall, the power levels were well balanced.
Yeah, and this is like how it comes out of the box, basically. At the time that we tested it, Aventon may have made some changes to that programming since, and you can actually customize that programming yourself. So really, you can kind of like dial these in how you want. On the Breeze 1 side of things, I mean, there's 5 assist levels there. Pretty balanced speed and power in cadence mode overall, I'd say. The Class 2 torque test, we did hit the 20 mile per hour ceiling kind of early, but speeds were much better balanced in Class 3 in our opinion. And again, you do have some like optionality in how you approach it there, because in addition to Class 2 or Class 3 mode, torque and cadence mode, you also have like the 3 different levels or 3 different profiles of that bike. So there's tons of optionality to play with it. You can kind of like find your particular speed and roll with it. So
we only typically test the Velotric models in their highest riding mode, right?
I was gonna say we typically go with like the high mode, if I remember correctly. I don't know for sure off the top of my head, but that does sound right. We don't want to give you like 12 versions of a speed test. It's going to take an hour to watch that video.
Nobody wants to watch that. Yeah.
But again, there's pretty much something for everybody is, I think, the point like we're trying to get at.
For sure. Moving on to the range test though. So this was actually pretty awesome to see. Both of these came in pretty neck and neck. So the Pace 4 with a 733 watt hour battery had 41 and 86 miles of range.
And then on the Breeze 1 side of things, this one I do think, again, I don't remember 100%, but we did do like the conservative power mode and the high power mode, doing our min and max test respectively on this one. But the Breeze 1 had 38 miles and 86 miles, so virtually neck and neck, but that's off the 672 watt hour battery, so a little bit lighter weight on that one.
Yeah, pretty rad. Moving on to the hill test results. So this was at our old hill test location called Hellhole Trail. The Pace 4 had a throttle time of 2 minutes and a pedal time of 1 minute and 23 seconds.
And then the Breeze, a little bit slower on throttle at 2 minutes and 10 seconds, and then a smidge faster on pedal at 1:21. Either way, both pretty strong performers there for
Absolutely.
our Hellhole location.
Yes. And then on the brake test, both had safe and better than average results. The Pace 4 came in at 20 feet 8 inches.
Whereas the Breeze 1 did 21 feet 3 inches, so just a smidge longer, but like John said, both under the all e-bike average, so good stoppers.
And then just kind of rounding all of that out in terms of who we would recommend each bike for. So the Pace 4 is going to be best for those who want just generally the most bang for the buck. We'll hit this again later in the deals of the week section, but this bike is currently $1,600, which is just awesome again for all of the things that you get. And it did, by the numbers, just come out on top by a slim margin across the board, so pretty cool there. But we would also recommend the Pace 4 for those who want the most security features and just sort of that high-tech app-connected feel. Although, again, you don't have to get into that stuff if you don't want to. We would also say that the Pace 4 is best for those who really like and enjoy that slightly sportier, more stretched out riding position. as well as those who might appreciate the suspension seat post for the smoothest possible ride right out of the box without needing to upgrade.
That's right. And then on the Breeze One side of things, it's going to be pretty good for those who want the more relaxed and upright ride. Going back to that point, again, that is something, based on the demographic. You said you're seniors, but you're active. But a lot of seniors typically prefer the more upright thing. You might be okay where you're already active with the forward lean of the pace. But hey, you don't even got to be like a senior to appreciate just the upright posture, very relaxed and comfortable.
It's also worth just saying, because I don't think we've touched on this, that you can always swap out handlebars regardless of
100%.
Whatever,
yeah, that's a good clarification to make. But one thing the Breeze does have going for it, again, the styling of it is really nice, just with those bold color options. That's something that John and I have harped on numerous times in the past. We do like brands that kind of give you some like bolder like choices out there, and Velotric delivers on that front for sure. It's probably slightly more nimble handling overall, I would say, and a little bit of a zippier motor, like just a smidge. And, those who want the absolute lowest standover height, it is lower on the Breeze 1 than it is on the Pace 4. Now, as John pointed out, the Pace is receiving a pretty good Black Friday sale right now. Things can change. We do not have insights to everyone's deals, what's going on. But as of right now, looking at it, the Breeze 1 is currently going for $17.99, but they're also throwing in some freebies and extras in the form of a rack and fenders coming along with it to help boost the value there a little bit more. So if you do want to do some full-time commuting, they will give you some of those features on there as well.
Solid.
But as always, let us know which one ends up sounding better to you. We always like to hear the follow-up and find out which ones you end up riding. So, and you can check these out at the links down below. Full disclosure here, those are affiliate links and do help us if you choose to purchase DTC. And if not, no hard feelings, just follow up with us anyway, Yep. All right, moving on to our next one. Charlie Smith 9310 from last week's episode, who says, "Hey guys, once again, the state of California has a great idea that completely fails on execution and falls victim to headline-driven reactionary politics and legislation. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area and work with low-income populations. The e-bike incentives program had the potential to make a real impact on families and individuals who struggle with the skyrocketing cost of living in our state and the ever-widening wealth gap. A $1,000 e-bike credit puts reliable, sustainable, accessible transportation in the reach of those who need it for work and local commuting. Conversely, a $1,000 EV incentive is essentially meaningless to those who lack the means to buy a $30,000 car. I can't help but think the cancellation of this program has a consequence of recent anti-e-bike legislation our state has passed, as many cities are now struggling to interpret laws that lack consistency and common sense. This is why we need more advocates for reasonable and responsible e-bike legislation. I recommend anyone interested consider donating to People for Bikes and CalBike." We do appreciate the follow-up here, as we reported on last week. So I believe it's $30 million in funds was set aside originally for some e-bike credits. Less than half of that was actually used up before they ended up transitioning the remaining funds into an EV program. John and I were a little dismayed at that. We would have preferred it stayed with bikes. We're trying to be glass half full here and say, well, it's going to
Something.
EVs, which is good. That's something. But I do like the point that Charlie made here. I think, it is just more impactful. $1,000 in the e-bike world can get you a lot of bike and get you an outright bike.
Yes, absolutely.
Or substantially lower the cost, whereas it's just doesn't really make a huge dent in that of an electric car. So I thought this was really good comment to have shared.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to really just, Charlie, recognize you for this insight, and I appreciate your perspective, right there on the front lines dealing with, low income communities. That's great. Again, just reiterating that it's in the case of bikes, $1,000 towards it is much more practical. And, we've reported on a number of stories around the country where there's sort of a lack of consistency in how e-bikes are defined legally, as well as how their speeds are regulated and how their power levels have caused some problems. So we definitely support any efforts to clarify these things. I mean, even in the cases of, tariffs, but, cities around the country, like all these things are kind of up in the air. There's some gray areas. So we really appreciate any groups that are, working towards sort of unifying the definitions here and the laws. And People for Bikes is just one group doing that. So shout out to People for Bikes. We quote them often. We steer people to their website often. They work with state and federal legislators, and we just really like to see them helping to progress the industry.
Yeah, and if you agree with John and I or with Charlie here, like please like sound off, like let us know down in the comments like your thoughts on this particular matter. This is something, we think could use a little bit more discourse and dialogue, and hopefully we can send this off to people who are in charge and make these decisions, and maybe reallocate some funding back into the e-bike sector.
Yeah, but for sure, as Charlie said, we definitely encourage our audience to support People for Bikes, as well as any, more local or state organizations like that, like How Bike that Charlie mentioned. So, but anyway, moving on. So this is our last question for the week. This comes to us from the Mock Wheel Basalt 2.0 review that you did, Griffin, from Light Zone 9, who says, thanks for a great comprehensive review. When you review a 2.0 version, I would really like to know what changes were made to version 1 and whether the improvements justify the price increase.
Yeah, sure thing. So first of all, sorry we didn't include more information on that within the review. As for the justification of the pricing, that's really difficult to fully get into because I just don't know everyone's budgets. We've talked about this a little bit before, but in my world, I can absolutely justify spending X on a bike, but someone who's very casual with it, like maybe their budget's half that or something like that. It's really hard to weigh in from that perspective. And then, when it comes to details between a 2.0 model versus 1.0, it's one of those tricky things as a reviewer. And John, I know we've talked about this a little bit in the past where it's really tempting to just slide into a comparison when you do the 2.0 model because you had experience with the first, you want to say everything that changed. But the reality is e-bikes are still a growing, burgeoning thing in our lives. And for most people, when they come across our reviews, most people aren't upgrading yet. Most people are just getting into it for the first time, which is why we usually don't spend too much time in a comparison. But I do understand the value and importance of talking about it a little bit. So again, in general, with each version, 2.0, 3.0, whatever, with each newer bike, typically things are improving. It's very rare to see a step back. Components either are better or, in some cases stay the same, but you get some upgrades while things stay the same in other areas. One thing we always recommend is if you're interested in the version 2 or 3 of a bike model, you are ready to upgrade per se, then, you can potentially do that and offset some of that cost by looking to sell your bike locally. We talked about Upway earlier. You can look at and see if they want to take it, and you can go through their website to learn about that process as well. Yep. Now, specifically coming back to the Mock Wheel Basalt and Basalt 2.0, there are just a handful of differences here. The 2.0 includes everything on the 1.0, but also has the removable display, which is pretty cool. It works as a key system, basically. So once you pop that off, motor and battery dead, no one's going to be able to turn it on. Kind of nice to have that.
Also, fat tire bike, fairly heavy. Nobody's going to be,
that
enjoying
bike,
pedaling.
I believe 80-ish pounds, something like that. No one's going to run off with that thing. I mean, still lock it up. That's your best course of action. But trust me, it's not going to be fun. The chainstay integrated turn signals were also something that was new, sticking with the more modern times. Like to see that. An 8-speed drivetrain option as well, upgrading from the over-the-bar tourney, I believe that the 1.0 had. Yep. And then 2 additional color options on the ST model, including pink and a camo option as well. So again, some slight meaningful upgrades there, but overall, Basalt 2.0, it's still one of our best fat tire bikes. If you like powerhouses, it is a good one to look at. If you have the 1.0 model, I don't know that you absolutely need to jump into the 2.0 model just yet, but again, if you are interested, you can always look at selling yours and hopping into the 2.0. But that's going to do it for the questions and comments of the week. If you have one that you would like to throw at John and I, we are happy to take those. You can comment on this video or really anywhere on any of our YouTube videos or our website. And last but not least, our email at
questions@electricbikereport.com. All right, it's time for everybody's favorite way to save money, deals of the week. Deals of the week.
I was warming up.
Oh, man.
Oh, I didn't. I was too busy warming up my fingers. It's really cold.
It is a little chilly.
We're starting early in the morning. That's all I was like, warm up the fingers and think about warming up the vocal cords. It's okay. I know people at home were already singing along with you, John.
Also, my voice is, king. Don't give me that look.
Exactly. I'm not gonna step on John's a solo act over here. Beyonce done left Destiny's Child. All right, go ahead, John.
Anyway, yeah. So this is, I feel like, the best time of year for this segment of the show as we are approaching the holiday season and Black Friday coming up. So we are just running through
Black Friday, like it's one day.
Yeah, exactly. It's the month of November.
It's starting early. Woo.
Yeah. But anyway, so I actually want to start off with a mention and a shout out to Rob Maxwell 3678 for pointing us to Bulls Bikes. They have deals going on right now that are up to 57% off. So there are some huge markdowns. And there's some bikes that we've reviewed over there. The Copperhead Evo HD 750 Wave. So that's a step-through style commuter with a Bosch Performance Line CX mid-drive. That is $2,500 off, down to just $19.99. So that is a steal for a bike.
You don't find Bosch motors every day at the $2,000 price mark.
Pretty insane. And then if you're into road bikes, we've also got the Alpine Hawk Evo, and that is a Fazua mid-drive equipped carbon road bike. And that is also kind of the same deal, $2,500 off, down to $18.99.
Very nice. And then over on Ride One Up side of thing, we have some Black Friday early access up to $600 off select Ride One Up models. Now the Rev 1 full suspension moto style e-bike with its 1,000-watt motor is $400 off, down to $2,095, which is a really awesome deal on that one.
Yes, it is.
The Trail Rush hardtail EMTB that came out this year, getting a slight discount, $100 off on that one, down to $19.95. This one's also FSA and HSA eligible. Notice that they're pushing that on their website, so maybe looking into more details on that one, but good deal for a newer model there.
For sure. And then moving on to Aventon's Black Friday sale. So they are offering up to $500 off, depending on the bike that you're looking at. Some of the best deals that I found there, again, the Pace 4 that we talked about in the comparison earlier, that city cruiser / commuter hybrid, $200 off. And that is, again, $15.99. Awesome deal there. But then also, if you're looking for something even lighter weight, the Solterra 2.5 city bike, that one is $200 off as well, down to just $9.99. And you know, it's pretty tough to find, and getting tougher to find e-bikes at that $1,000 price point.
I was like, if you got to hike some bikes upstairs or something like that, Solterra is a great one to look at for only $1,000. That's a killer deal.
Yeah.
Also, Electric's Black Friday sale still going on, low prices and free accessories for them, including like the Expedition 2 long-range dual battery cargo bike is $19.99 with included cargo and passenger accessories. One of the better deals when you kind of like factor in all the different like accessories you throw on there. With a cargo bike, you always want to build in like, oh, I'm gonna have good accessories too. But in this case, you're getting like a whole host of things with that one. So there's also the Electric One pinion equipped mini commuter, $500 off on that one, now down to $18.99. I said before, you don't see Bosch equipment at $2,000 very often. You never see pinion equipment under $2,000. So that is pretty awesome there.
And then moving on to our last one for this week. So this is over at Velotric. They have up to $220 off their best-selling e-bikes. So that includes the Fold 1 Plus. That is their sort of bright and customizable folding e-bike. That is $14.99. It also comes with a suspension seat post that is valued at $120.
Nice.
But then also the Breeze 1 that we talked about earlier, that, again, lightweight city cruiser is $17.99, but that one also comes with the fenders and cargo rack to get you set up for commuting, and those are valued at $150. So yeah, stay tuned as we progress through this month. We're going to keep these deals of the week coming. All right, if it weren't for you guys, we wouldn't really be able to be here having this show, so we like to dedicate a segment of the show to highlight a commenter from the past week or so. So, yeah, who do we have, Griffin, this week?
So this week we have Hal Bazari, who commented on last week's show. And I tell you what, John, like, Slime is not a sponsor of this show, but like they should be by now because they keep coming up every week. And hey, like, why not? They're awesome product, as this commenter illustrates here.
We also need yerba mate sponsorships, so if you're watching,
I was going to say, we got those cans up front every week. We're just waiting for for someone to make it official. But jumping to Hal Bazari over here. So continuing our conversation about slime and the benefits of it. For those who don't know, it's something that's a little like sealant you put within the inner tube of your tire to help with flat prevention. And this is a really great example, as he illustrates. He says, green slime has saved me hundreds of dollars and several hours of my life. I have over 12,000 miles combined on my electric 1.0 and 3.0 long-range stepovers. I also ride a specialized rock hopper expert with well over 30,000 miles.
That's
wow.
bonkers.
I ride 365 days a year in all weather conditions. I live in Moline, Illinois, next to the Mississippi River. Before I knew about green slime, I would average a flat rear tire every 200 miles on an e-bike. I haven't had a flat tire in over 5,000 miles, all bikes included. Green Slime is an absolute game changer. It is easy to install and inexpensive. Excellent show. Thank you. Just bought another electric after watching more of your videos. XP4 750 step over green. I plan on adding a 20 amp hour battery and snow tires. Thank you for keeping us in the loop. Happy trails. It's time to go for a bike ride. Thank you so much for commenting. Glad you follow along, and I hope you enjoy the new XP4. That's a great bike as well. And again, another free plug for you, Slime. Hey, it's really good stuff. We do give it our full endorsement, and keep on riding out there.
And as always, if you want to be highlighted in this segment of the show, drop us a comment, email us, do all the things. Thank you. All right, if you're still hanging out with us, we really appreciate you sticking around. Thanks for sending us your questions, your comments, your information about you and your bike and how you ride. We're always happy to talk about and interact with you guys. So yeah, again, just this is great. We love doing this show, and thanks for being here.
Absolutely. And so you can leave us a comment. You can write us at questions@electricbikereport.com. And as a reminder, you can catch us on any of your favorite podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever it is you're listening, we will be there. But that's going to do it for John and I on this episode of The Weekly Recharge.